possibility of him, just like Tom, maybe he has like a change of heart like right before the season hits, and I'm going to come back and play for the Buccaneers last second. Could happen.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And let's just take a look at his stats too that he had amassed over his career. He played for 11 years, 9 with the Patriots, 2 with the Bucs. He has 621 receptions, 9,286 yards, Joe, and 92 touchdowns. Made 5 Pro Bowls, and also here he goes, is 4-time Super Bowl champion.
Yeah.
Not as many as Tom Brady there. He wasn't there for all of his, but still, questionably probably the greatest tight end in all of football. Probably. I mean, he's got to be up there with the big names.
He's
Mike
definitely
Ditka and
one
stuff
of.
like that. So look at his career, the longevity, even being a tight end and being able to play this long, even despite the injuries that he's had. But still, looking at that, though, too, is he one of those people that can kind of be like, man, I had 9,286. I mean, he was like 734 yards or so, not even that much, but 704, 14 yards, close to getting, he could do that in the season, like this season right now. So if he came back for one more year and he's got 8 more touchdowns, now he's finishing off with a nice 100 touchdowns, 10,000 yards, and then just keep adding on to those receptions. But
he would definitely have
career.
to be utilized a lot more than what he was with last season. I mean, he was seen more as a blocker pretty much 3/4 of the way through the season, was solely used for blocking for the most part. And then at the latter part of the season is when he really started to pick it up and catch more balls and be more, involved in that offense, even in the playoff stretch. So if he was to come back and he wants to eclipse those kind of milestones, like maybe get 700 receptions and get that, 10,000, eclipse that 10,000 yard in receptions and what have you, and 100 touchdowns, it's possible. But he definitely has to be utilized more of a receiving threat like he was in New England, and less of a blocker in order for him to get there.
And the fun thing is with him and the way that Tampa Bay offense was, it's almost like they did it the way maybe basketball is too, in a sense. It's like he wasn't very productive during the regular season. Like he was still there, he was still playing, but they didn't really go to him. It wasn't until playoff time. That's when he really excels, and that's when they go to him, and that's the go-to guy. He really steps it up, and then it's almost kind of like teams like, oh, we forgot about this guy, and then boom, 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 and then he's the guy, getting it done in the playoffs.
Yeah, it definitely helps when you got him blocking all season long pretty much, and like, oh, wait, they have Rob Gronkowski? What the hell? You just lit it up. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. So, again, like we said, there isn't a whole lot going on in the NFL right now. There's a few headlines out there. We just talked about Tony Siragusa, and we're sorry for that. And then Rob Gronkowski retires. Joe, what's your opinion? We brought this up off air about now. Like Mike McCarthy, you could see it right there in the drop. He gets fined $100,000 for breaking the new physicality rules, during practice. We've seen Ron Rivera last week get it, and then also it was Lovie Smith for the Texans also slapped with a $50,000 fine, and it now even add on the 2023 practices that they lose. But why
like
extend it to that? Like, what's your opinion on that? Like, what's your opinion on even like the players obviously wanted this in that CBA, because maybe they didn't want to risk injury, things like that and stuff. But about the penalties for it and what is it going to lead to doing less of this? Because you're seeing these especially these old time coaches. You see who it is. It's Lovie Smith, Ron Rivera, Mike McCarthy, guys that have been there for a long time, as a head coach, maybe like to get the pads, hitting and stuff like that, get them ready for that early on and kind of used to that. And now they've kind of changed their ways. I mean, do you think this rule that's set in now, maybe they're not used to seeing that and they're kind of like, oh yeah, that's right, that's a new thing, and they're just got to get reminded now? Or do you think it's just a thing that's just going to keep happening every year, you think?
No, not at all. They know this. They understand this rule. It's not like they haven't coached with this rule before. They have. And they've abided by the rule. So for them to do it all of a sudden now, it's not any different than what they knew before. So for guys like Lovie Smith, however old school they may be considered, they understand the rule. They know what they have to do. They know what they can't do. And it's spoken of every single year. So it's not like it's a surprise type of ruling or anything. They know, listen, it's just like if you go back to the Patriots days and of them like being accused of cheating and that and the sort of thing, they were pushing the limits of rules, right? And yeah, they may have gone over the threshold of whatever that rule was, and they pushed the limits and they got caught. This is just another way for some teams and some coaches that are trying to push the limits of this rule and seeing how much they can get away with. And guys like Mike McCarthy now and Lovie Smith and Ron Rivera, they got caught. They pushed a little too far. Now a little slap on the hand. You get a fine of $50,000 for Lovie Smith, $100,000 for McCarthy, and what have you. And oh yeah, by the way, we're going to take a couple of practices away, but not this year. No. We're going to take them away for next year, which makes no damn sense to me. You definitely got to take away, penalize them now. Why would you wait until to penalize them for next season's practices is beyond me. But as far as the rule, listen, this is what was agreed upon in the CBA for the players union, and this is what they wanted. They wanted less, hard working days. Like you take it back to old school days, there was 2-a-days where you were not only ground into the dirt with one practice, but no, you take a slight break, and then you come back again and work even harder for the next one on the same day. So they tried to do away and make practices less, hard-nosed and less, intense of practices. And now they got easier practices like they wanted, the players did. And, you got to be careful as coaches. You can only push them so far. Now, listen, don't get me wrong. I'm all for having hard practices, because that's really what's going to separate you from the pack as a team. If you practice hard, you're going to play hard. If you play hard, you're going to out-physical the other team. Your physical momentum and your edge to your team is going to be so much better than the other opposing team that you play. So that being said, and I also believe that with those harder practices, it reduced injury, because you're already working your body hard to the point where it's adapting to that hard physical play. Mm-hmm. So now that you lessened the amount of intense workouts or the physical drills that you may have, we've noticed an increase in injuries happening, whether it be ACL tears, whether it be pulled hamstrings or maybe a broken bone or two. Like, we've noticed that the ascending chart for injuries it keeps growing every year. Guys are getting injured in training camps. Guys are getting injured in practices during the season. Guys are getting injured in games. So we've kind of seen this track happen. Now, a lot of people do point their finger like, hey, it's because we don't have hard practices anymore. Maybe, maybe not. Or maybe it's just the evolution of our athletes. They're getting too fast, too strong, too quickly, maybe. And maybe their bodies don't have time to adjust, and it's showing in the injury column. Or maybe it's just a coincidence. Or maybe it's because we're not practicing hard. So what do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, you know me. I'm kind of that old school kind of way, and I always think that these injuries end up popping up because they're not getting enough of those practices. Because what do you know when you're sitting around and then all of a sudden you're trying to go into activity? I know it now that I'm 44, going to be going on 45, Joe. If I'm, I'm probably in the best shape of my life that I've been in a long time right now, and I'm feeling the difference because I've been changing my nutrition and things like that, and actually being a little more active. But I remembered before, if all of a sudden I'm sitting on the couch hanging out or something like that, and then I want to just all of a sudden go for a run. It's gassing me out a little bit more, and then I feel like I might pull something or something, you know what I'm saying, and getting up off of that. And now, I don't feel so bad now. I'm not gassed. I don't feel like I might have just pulled a muscle or something like that. There's a difference there. It's being a little more active all the time, getting those bodies going. And, I think Tiger Woods has said it, when he says about getting those muscles, what did he call them? Like igniting them or getting them triggered, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Get them going. That's a real thing, you know what I mean? So I think all that matters, but I think the finding thing, I think, is kind of interesting. It's like, here, we're going to find you the 100 grand, which is nothing. Again, they're kind of like whatever. But then even and now you, in next year you won't get one of those practice days
Two
or
of
something
them.
like that. Yeah, two
for
of them.
the
It's kinda
Cowboys
like,
anyway.
all right.
And
okay.
it's got to be about the severity too. You know what I mean? Like how much harder were they hitting and stuff in those drills? So you notice the two different fines, right? Like you got the Texans with Levi Smith, only 50 G's.
Yeah.
And then you got the Cowboys with Mike McCarthy. It's $100,000. So you can see the severity of the punishments that were doled out are different because obviously maybe McCarthy was going all out with his players.
Right.
And listen, the players aren't going to complain. You know what I mean? They might complain to their union rep after the practice, and maybe that's how they got found out. But, you know, that's where you see these penalties being enforced, and it's like, I don't know. I mean, tougher practices, it seemed to work out back in the old days. Like, I understand, like, this is like a players' union thing with the NFL and them, and you got to give and take with these CBA agreements. But here's the thing is, like, now when we come upon the next CBA discussion with players versus the NFL, this is going to be looked at again. It's going to be brought up as a discussion. And also what's going to be brought up is that extra game that got added to the season. You cannot tell me that any player is happy with playing another week of physical football when we're already having issues keeping players on the football field right now. Currently, you know, like we talked about before, like guys are getting injured more often. So by adding another week of a regular season game, that's just more risk for them to get injured before the playoffs or before the end of the season, before they go on vacation with their families. So all this is going to come up in the next CBA agreement for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, that's something to look into. It's another interesting little thing that kind of caught my eye a little bit here while we're kind of in a downtime of the year. But you know what? It's not a downtime
year round,
right
baby.
Because you know what? It's summer. It just became summer officially, Joe. It is officially summer. It's time to go to some concerts, Joe. We love to go to concerts. Buddy. We love to go to live events.
Yes, sir.
Like I said, I've been going to the Empire games. I've been going to concerts. Everybody knows me. That's what I'm doing. That's my thing. I'm going to one in I think it's next week. Next Tuesday, I'm going to one. I'm super excited. But also, Joe, we should be excited because now we have another sponsor on top of us as well. And another way that our know-it-alls can save some cash by doing the things they're going to go do anyways. Joe, tell them about it.
Let's go about SeatGeek. That's right. SeatGeek.com is your only source to buy tickets to your favorite band, sports team, or venue, whatever you want, and more. Right now, you can get $20. That's right, not percent. $20 off your purchase when you spend $50 or more just by entering promo code GOZ, G-O-Z. You enter GOZ for GOZ. Visit SeatGeek.com to search for any event that you want. Buy your tickets there and use the promo code GOZ, G-O-Z. $20 off any ticket purchase over $50 from SeatGeek.com. Save some money. Enjoy the summer by using SeatGeek.com and enter promo code. You guessed it, GOZ.
GOZ, GOZ, that's right. And save you guys some cash. We love SeatGeek. I went on it again the other day and got some tickets.
Yep.
You know,
Did you use the promo code?
I did. Say, isn't that great too?
Off?
Yeah, you guys have $20 off.
Go.
You know what I'm saying? It helps us out. It helps out our, our media company too as well. So it's awesome. And then all of our friends out there. Buy some Bills tickets right there. Unfortunately, our chat box isn't working properly right now, so we can't see who just posted that. Maybe Joe can check it out in a little bit. But Bills
Lady
tickets.
Bills.
It could be Lady Bills. That's what I was going to say. Who else could it be?
Buy
but
some
Lady
Bills tickets, she says.
Lady Bills right there in the house.
What's going on?
Yeah. All right. I was going to say it was either her or our man Greg Schreiner, who loves to check us out too as well. But Bills tickets, yeah, let's get it. Lady Bills, there she is. Holla again. Yeah, there's some good tickets out there. You know, that's what I mean. I looked at the Giants, and I got I'm going to get those too. Probably there's like a lower level, and those get up to like super expensive.
Yeah,
I found a lower level ticket for $216, Joe.
For sure, yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the ground level.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't get them anywhere else like that. Plus, that's before the $20 off. So we're excited about that.
Nice.
Lady Bills, what's going on? We're talking NFC East. tonight. Unfortunately, not the AFCs, but let us know what you're thinking out there.
We'll get there, though.
She always uses SeatGeek, she says.
Wow,
awesome.
definitely.
That's awesome. Well, then again, when you go to use it again, make sure you get in our promo code. It's GOZ. Guys, put it in there at checkout, and you can save $20 on any $50 or more purchase. But like I said before, here we go. We got the biggest questions for the NFC East. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys, right? The Joe, the team, America's team, right? You know,
everybody loves the Cowboys. They're not America's team. That shit's done with now.
Yeah, they suck. You know, I don't think.
Spoken like a true Giants fan, like everybody look at the hoodie.
That's a funny thing, though, too, is because when you ask these biggest questions, you can ask some certain ones, like everybody wants to ask about, maybe Dak Prescott, can he win a playoff game or a big game and stuff because he chokes and all this and blah, blah, blah. But my question here for the biggest questions for the Dallas Cowboys is, can Dallas live up to the hype here? Because every year they got to hype up. All these fans think they're going to the Super Bowl again. And again, they're expected to go so far. All right, so we're going to see it again. We looked at the team. Dak Prescott, trying to erase what kind of happened, that debacle in last year's game with the whole rushing the ball quick and then forgetting to toss it to the referee here. The ref kind of plows through him, touches the ball quick, gets out of the way. They try to blame it on the ref for screwing it up. A whole big debacle here. But, looking at what they have now, and they've even, in a sense, lost some of the players that they had before. No more Amari Cooper, stuff like that. CeeDee Lamb's thrown into that role.
Cedric Wilson.
But Cedric Wilson's gone. But then also you got to think about Michael Gallup's injury, too. He might not even be starting until weeks like 4 or 5, maybe even right now at this point. So missing the first 4 or 5 games without Michael Gallup, too, then what do you got? Right. You know what I mean? For your receiving core. How does that help you right now in this offense?
And that's the thing, too, is like this offense now, it has changed. And Cowboys fans, I know they're excited about every single season, just like they always are. And they're saying they're going to win the division right away and go to the Super Bowl. But there's some things you got to really think about here. One, it's the receiving core, like Jim was bringing up. No more Amari Cooper. No more Cedric Wilson that was kind of going under the radar as one of these emerging wide receivers come into the league. Now he leaves as well. Now you re-sign Michael Gallup. Great, it's a great re-signing. Not taking anything away. He's coming off an injury. He's going to come back healthy. Really good player when he's on the football field. Other than that, you got CeeDee Lamb, another really good player who's consistently there. So that's your go-to guy. But after that, you got a guy by the name of James Washington that you signed in free agency, hoping that he can replace a guy like Cedric Wilson. Is not in no way, shape, or form up to that standard in my eyes. I do think James Washington is a good receiver, but I don't think he's had the the performance that Cedric Wilson had. Could he develop it? Sure. He could get better with this team. But again, when you're looking at this receiving core as a whole, but minus what they had last year, it doesn't look as an intimidating factor. You just have 2 guys that you got to worry about. That's it. No three-headed monster, if you will. So with that in mind, you also got the rumors swirling around with the running backs. Is Zeke starting? Is Tony Pollard starting? Indicators are, as they have said, that they're going to use Tony Pollard a heck of a lot more in this offense this season. So that's got to be concerning to some Zeke fans out there, or fantasy fans out there. So keep your ears, down to the ground to really kind of find out what's going to end up happening there. And offensive line-wise, it's changed. The offensive line, drafting Tyler Smith, who we weren't high on in the first round, was seen as a tackle coming out, but had it, like we seen it on the game tape, had issues holding on to players in college. They kick him in the inside. That might work out better for him. But again, still needs to prove himself. Guys that are aging like Tyron Smith can't seem to stay in the lineup because of injury. Zach Martin is getting older. How much longer can he hold out? And you have a guy by the name of Terrence Steele, who the Cowboys are high on and think that he's going to definitely hold down that right tackle position. But other than that, so there's a lot of questions that I feel like on the offensive side more than defensive.
Yeah, it's funny too because even looking at our lads, they've even swapped the lineup since yesterday when we looked at it, and now they've moved CeeDee Lamb down into the right wide receiver spot, and they moved Michael Gallup to the other side. It's kind of funny. So they even have questions about this team.
They're not sure.
Mike Tackett's in the house with us tonight. He says if Dallas has a losing record by mid-November, I think McCarthy is gone. Absolutely. And a hashtag trade Zeke. I think he's got to be too, even though there was a love affair with him in whatever happened at that slumber party with Jerry Jones. It's weird. I don't know, but they really got close and they really enjoyed themselves. But that he doesn't like losing. And Jerry Jones, he's trying to get back to where they were in the 90s. He wants this team to be there. And we've been talking about this for a decade now, Joe. I mean, how many times we heard it through the Romo years. Now we're hearing it through the Dak years. They had the question whether they're going to pay Dak and stuff, and they work out a deal with him. He ends up getting that injury when he played the Giants, but still coming back, playing well last year, especially down into the playoffs. It's come up short again, but this team still drafts pretty well, gets some good weapons for them. The defense has played well under Dan Quinn right now, too, as well, So, I mean, this has got to be the time because after this, your line's getting a little shorter here, especially with Dak Prescott here at the helm. So
absolutely. And then the other thing, too, is for Dan Quinn, you have to evolve as a D coordinator this coming season. A lot of us have seen what the Cowboys defense could do last year, but now you got to improve even more than what you did last year. Mm-hmm. They lost some players that were intricate pieces to this defense, and they're hoping that with some of these other guys that they have in place, like Durant's Armstrong, to name one guy, they have, Trayvon Diggs was seen as like this kind of breakout player last year. Having multitude of interceptions and was what quarterbacks started to get a little bit more afraid of throwing his side, and this defense as a whole, even though it's changed, I still can't get by the fact that Dan Quinn does not have Micah Parsons as a D end opposite DeMarcus Lawrence, because that's where he made most of his damage done. Because when he was at linebacker, he can still play the run phenomenally, and he can rush the passer as a linebacker, but when it comes to coverage, him and being in pass coverage, that's where he struggles big time. So why not camouflage that weakness, put him at the end, no thoughts, but let me go get that ball. And I kind of wonder, like, you still have him penciled as a linebacker. Why? When your D-line could be so tenacious, so tough to stop just by putting him at that end spot. So I'm just confused about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike Tackett also said, I forgot earlier, he says, "Happy Wednesday, guys. Joe is rocking Watson's next jersey."
Mean machine.
Yeah, hard to go 24-0. Mean machine. Yes. Yeah, who knows with the Watson thing, man? I mean, there's a lot going on with that. Finally, after hiatus, we've heard some news, and now, we've got the settlement. That's happened with like 2022 or so women, but now there's 4 left over that are still going with what they're saying. And so we'll see what happens with that. And the NFL too. I mean, they're just waiting for this. I think they're doing the right thing by hanging there, getting all the information that they can, see what the actual legal courts do and how that's settled out before they do any kind of punishment. I mean, they've got time too.
But that's the craziest thing, is the legal side of it has already been taken care of. It got thrown out of court. They didn't have evidence to convict him at all. So that tells me that, listen, the reason why Watson wanted to go to trial is because he wanted to prove his innocence. And what more do you need when they don't even have evidence to convict him? So it got thrown out of court in the legal sense. Now they take a different route, because what is it? It's a money grab. As soon as one started to complain, or 2 of them started to complain about, whatever happened. Now that the legal sense didn't work, the legal courts didn't work, let's take a different avenue and let's hit him in his pocket, right? And that's pretty much, they've already kind of tried to drag his name in the mud legally. Now let's go the civil court way. Let's try to get some more money out of him. So 20 of them, as of yesterday, 20 of them all settled that quickly. You mean to tell me that the boatload of women that were complaining about Deshaun Watson now have all said, oh, yeah, I'll take that, whatever it is, $100 grand, 50 grand, 200 grand, whatever the settlement was. 20 of them are like, okay, we're good, we're done. All right, that tells me that this was just a money hunt for one of the bigger name players in the league and one of the better players at quarterback. It was just to go after him because he's big. He's got a lot of money. You look at his contract, and it's like, I don't know if it was planned by a couple of women and it kind of blew up to the level that it did, or if they really were harmed in some way, shape, or form. We never going to really know that. But legally, he's cleaned his name in my eyes, and then civilly, he's just gonna have to get these last few settled and done, and then let's see what the NFL does. Now, like I said before, legally cleaned, right? His name is clean now, but civilly, he's just gonna pay these women off until they're all gone. Then the NFL, what are you going to do? Are you going to hammer this gentleman with a year-long suspension like they're thinking?
I mean, I don't think it's going to be that far because again, if it is just comes down to things detrimental to the shield, stuff like that.
But it's not.
It's small just because in a situation, there's things that happened. Supposedly with other people, like you've heard things about Ben Roethlisberger, stuff like that.
There was evidence there.
There was some, but you know what I mean. Even Tom Brady with destroying his phone, because he does that, and they still will just slap a fine on you for something like that.
Yeah, but I'm all for that. But my thing is, he went through the legal courts, got cleared of his name. Cleared his name, right? Now we're going the civil route, which is always kind of like the last ditch effort to get something out of it, right? So it's a money grab. Now after these are all settled, the NFL is still going to come at him, and I hope it's not to the point where they're going to be like, 4-game suspension or something, but not season long. Like a lot of people are thinking that the NFL really wants to come down hard on him, even though he wasn't convicted, which to me is absolute asinine. When you have players like Tyreek Hill, where there was audio evidence of him talking a certain way to his pregnant wife, and stuff like that. And what did he get? Hardly anything. So for a guy who is clearing his name, doing it the right way, going through the court process the correct way, I hope to God they don't come down hard on him and
Mike
just
Tackett here. He says, what if Houston planned this? Weird how all this started after he told Houston he wasn't going to play for them again, after they refused to trade him. And we said that when it first came out. I mean, imagine that. It seemed like it was all of a sudden it came out to kind of tarnish some of that, it kind of like tarnish his name. And then now you see it after the next wave of women came forward. Houston was all about complying with the NFL and saying, oh, yeah, he actually had personal massages here at the facilities. Like, we'll tell you, he actually did this. And all of a sudden jumping a gun against him, kind of like, what?
Yeah, because they wanted to wash their hands from him. Listen, the Texans were in denial for the longest time. We're not trading you. You're going to be a Texan for life. We don't want to. We don't want to get release you, trade you, anything. So we're going to keep you until the heat really turned up, and then they were like, "Oh no, we don't know anything about him. No. He's a bad person. In fact, he did this, that, and the other thing. You're going to throw him under the bus like that." Of course, Watson already told him, I do not want to play for you. I want to be traded. Was blatant about it. And Texans wanted to hold on to him and try to keep him. Now, they just turned everything against him, and that's when the shit hit the fan. So now, Texans wanted to wipe their hands of him and get rid of him and everything. Well, okay, you did that, but you didn't have to throw him under the bus. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we are talking NFC East. Biggest question still here too as well, but let us know again in the comments if you want to bring up anything else that's going on in the NFL. Any questions you have about your team as well, we'll be happy to answer them or talk about them. But next up, we just talked about the Cowboys. So for me, the Cowboys, will they live up to the hype? I don't think so again, because it looks like to me that they're going in with a little less here on offense. Maybe they can mix it up here with the running game with the two dual running backs, a little more Tony Pollard. But again,
I think they're just going to fizz out again. I mean, and it's tough for them because this division now, where you've got the Giants now with new coaching staff, you've got the Commanders now still with a good defense and trying to make a push with what they have. And the Philadelphia Eagles, what they did in the offseason now, they're making a run. So these teams have been terrible for a while now. And it's kind of been your division to take, and you haven't really done a whole lot with it. So this is going to be only a tighter window for them moving forward. But let's talk about the New York Giants. And for me, the question here is, can this coaching staff turn the franchise around? And I guess that's the overall biggest question, because let's just face it, there's a whole hell of a lot of questions with this team. One's health. Can they stay healthy? I mean, we're talking about the wide receivers. Talk about Daniel Jones too, because again, when they started to figure out that he can actually take off and run and be kind of a threat there with his legs, they did it a little too often, and then in certain situations where they probably couldn't have, and he ended up getting injured pretty badly, where he injured his neck, where he's still coming back from that injury. So injuries all around. Saquon Barkley, all of a sudden after his first 2 seasons was playing well, now can't stay healthy at all, and so let's see if he can complete a full season and look remotely close to what he might have been that first season when he started with the Giants. It's funny because of being a fan of the team, you hope for something like that because you just want your team to be good. You hope to see what you already kind of saw flashes of before with Daniel Jones when we called him Danny Dimes. You see how his precision is when he's throwing the deep ball. You can see Saquon Barkley doing his thing. And then Kenny Golladay. We went out and got this guy for a reason, and he didn't really live up to his potential last season at all. He couldn't get separation, couldn't get those 50-50 balls like he was supposed to. And now, again, trying to keep the wide receivers healthy all the time. Kadarius Toney is still as banged up right now even, just like that before even the season starts. So under new coaching staff, Brian Daboll trying to bring what he's got, what he had for the Buffalo Bills, and try and do what he kind of did with Josh Allen, turned him into a guy who had a strong arm, a little inaccurate at times, not getting that touch on the ball, narrowed it down within a season, and working with Brian Daboll, trying to do the same thing with Daniel Jones and get this team here together. And now a new also defense here with Don Wink Martindale too as well enters this team. And so that's an interesting aspect for them as well. So what do you think here, Joe, about them getting this team turned around and making the Giants a great franchise again?
Well, what I do think is they made the right decision on firing everybody on the coaching staff from last season. That they did a good job of that. They hired a new GM, also from the Buffalo Bills. They bring in a new offensive staff and a staff that can utilize multiple talents and be able to create an offense that's going to fit the talent that they have at their disposal. So a guy like Daniel Jones, who comes with a lot of criticism, a guy that, has shown flashes in the pan of being a halfway decent quarterback to being a guy who can't hold on to the ball and making mistakes throwing the ball. I think this is the perfect situation for him right now, because he's going to have to work with an offensive-minded coach like Daboll that is going to utilize his legs, also going to utilize getting rid of the ball quickly. You know what I mean? So, and you saw things from Josh Allen's game that could be implemented in Daniel Jones's game. And by doing that, it's going to make defenses kind of second guess what they're going to attack on a weekly basis. So that's the whole goal, is to keep defenses off balance. And I think that with this offense and with the players that they have, call it what you want. Daniel Jones, he was bad about turning the ball over. He made bad decisions and all that, but that can be corrected. You got to remember too, is the players around him were injured for most of the season. So he didn't have a full cast. And I think this year, just like Jim was saying, like, there's a big question mark, and that is definitely one of the higher questions to ask is, what if they can stay healthy? Because then we'll truly get to see what this team is capable of. But when you got a guy like Kenny Golladay, who the Giants went out and they're hoping that this is our number one guy, we finally got a true number one, and he was banged up. He wasn't getting separation like Jim was saying, but also it could also have been attributed to the offense they were running. They weren't really utilizing Galladay at his fullest. They were just sending him deep all the time and not getting him open across the middle. So there's little nuances of the offense that are going to be changed and overhauled, and that's going to help all of these players become better this season. Don't think they're going to, blow the doors off the league this year, but they definitely improved the offensive line by getting Evan Neal in the draft to pair him up with Andrew Thomas and other guys like John Feliciano. That already, right there, those few additions is going to make this offensive line a hell of a lot better. John Feliciano, who's had a long career thus far, has kind of slowly developed and is seen as more of like a Pro Bowl guard. Mm-hmm. So a better offensive line with all these guys getting healthy, returning back with a new offense, and you've been missing out on tight end position for quite some time.
Yeah, absolutely.
They drafted Daniel Bellinger, who I really like. I thought he was kind of like a sleeper. I think he could develop to be that starting caliber tight end for them that can not only just block, but he also can make some damage in the aerial game. So I like what I see on paper. It's exciting, especially for you, Jim, because you get like a fresh start now.
Yeah, another one.
Yeah, another one. But look at what you have now.
Right,
you have a very conscientious, offensive-minded coach that is all about detail, that is all about getting it right the first time. And he's going to implement that with this offense, newly changed offense, to kind of help the Giants get out from the gutter of the NFC East.
Absolutely. And Lady Bill says Dable will make a big difference with Jones. We hope so. And that's what we're kind of looking for. We're looking for him to take that next step because I think, again, he has the IQ. He has the talent. But, again, without that offensive line to give him some time, just a little bit to even get checkdowns or different things because I think they tried to force him to do certain things in the last offense.
Yeah.
And I think they tried to force the ball downfield too much too as well. So if you're doing longer plays that take forever to develop and you have a terrible offensive line,
there you go.
You're not going to be able to do anything.
Yeah.
So you're going to get that pressure. So what are you thinking? Again, you got to see it coming from each way and stuff like that, and that's why a lot of those mental errors happened with the strip fumbles and stuff like that. And without having a threat like Saquon Barkley in the backfield anymore, it just wasn't good enough for them. But then also, like you even saw, like you said, even with the defense in the draft too, Kayvon Thibodeau, they've been looking for a pass rusher too as well. So this draft too, on top of things, they went and they got a lineman. They went and they got edge rushers, something people have been asking for a long time. They did that. Camps seem really bright right now, but again, let's hope that everybody can stay healthy here and really gel and move forward. And I think this group right now, I think really has a really good chance of developing something nice here too, and turning this franchise.
And that's the thing too, is like the defense was good last year, and I feel like they tweaked a little bit. Like you said, they got their good pass rushers that they've been dying to get in the draft, and Kayvon Thibodeau. Also, Azeez Ojulari is another name to watch out for if you're a Giants fan out there. He's another difference maker, I feel like, for this team that they're going to develop together, and this defense is going to get even better than last season. However, it is a learning year. Whenever you have a new coaching staff, it's a little bit of a learning year, but I still feel like the Giants are on the right path.
Absolutely. And one thing, too, is this team didn't have Blake Martinez for most of the season last year, too. And he was a big part of that defense, like by reading the plays, stopping the run, and just being all around there. And now if you can, again, have all these guys together here, staying healthy, I think in this defense, you'll see a big difference here, too, as well. And alleviate the pressure of just him trying to do it all as well. All right, so let me tell you about something that we don't have to alleviate pressure with. It's about that logo right there, Mohawk Honda. I'm going to tell you about my friends at Mohawk Honda, everybody. Mohawk Honda, Freebridge Bridge Road. That's right there where they go out of their way to please you. At Mohawk Honda, the team can find what you're looking for by searching their lot. And they will even look over the entire eastern seaboard if they have to find the car that you want. Real opportunity. The real opportunity right now is for you to go there, check them out, and do the instant cash offer here with Kelly Blue Book. They can bring in your card, see what you're going to trade it in for, and they'll give you top dollar for it. Talk to my man, Cars with Kerm down there. Cam McKenna, too, as well. C-Mac. The VIP man, Morales, he's there, too, as well. Talk to all those guys. And even if you don't want to go to him, you want to go say, hey, listen, I want to see your manager. I want to just talk to the guy himself. Go right to General Manager Greg Johnson. He's there. He'll go right past everybody and talk to you too. Mohawk Honda, Freeman's Bridge Road, where they go out of the way to please you, put you in the car that you want, the one that you deserve, at the price that you want to pay as well.
Hell yes.
Boom. Love me some Mohawk Honda. Dude, I get alerts from them too. Yes. On Facebook and stuff, and they're showing off the new cars that they get in the lot too all the time, and they'll give you a detailed breakdown of it. They'll show you all the leather interior that they got, and all the bells and whistles, and you're just like, man, look at that. I don't even need to go down there and, hey, I want to check out this vehicle. They'll show me online before I even go, and I'm like, I like that one. I'm going to go down and check it out now. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You talk about details. Let's talk about details with this Eagles team.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely,
The
Joe.
next biggest question there is Jalen Hurts a franchise quarterback?
That's right, and that's got to be the biggest question for the team, Joe. You would think after everything they've done in the offseason.
I have another one, though. It just popped in my head.
Sure. What do you
Is Nick Sirianni a true head coach?
It's questionable.
Very questionable.
Because at times, again, it seems like he's got it down, but then very questionable moves, I think, at the same time as well.
Decisions
right.
alone.
Absolutely. And even with the way the offense was kind of run even last year, too, I don't think they got their running backs involved like they probably should have done until even later in the season.
Jesus, and, Miles Sanders used to be an intricate part in the offense.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, but we look at the weapons that they got now. They've kind of done what some of these other franchises have done. What they kind of did with Josh Allen in a sense, too. It's not like Josh Allen was struggling and they needed to get him some weapons to, here you go. But it wasn't until they got like a Stephon Diggs, somebody like that, and even Nicole Beasley to match and mix some of these different types of weapons here.
Because you need
really
weapons.
Get them going. Yeah, because not always, especially with a young developing quarterback, you're not just going to make everybody 110% better. You're not Peyton Manning right off the bat. You know what I'm saying? So get some of these weapons and see what you can do with it. And Jalen Hurts, basically the problem is it's not like he's really doing turnovers and things like that. It's just some of the decision making and kind of quitting on plays that I've seen too. Not really seeing the guy that's wide open and looking for the check down instead, or go take off scrambling when he even had a guy. Just didn't let the play develop. So not having that pocket awareness and that play recognition, I think has kind of hindered him a little bit here.
Yeah, and that was one of my biggest questions when they announced the hire of Nick Sirianni. I'm like, really? That's the guy you hired? I was kind of confused, and it's showing proof that we've seen in his limited time at head coach that there's been opportunities to make a good decision. There's been opportunities to be aggressive in play calling and not kind of be so sheltered in a way that to really kind of take this team to another level. It's also coaching that's got to step up too. And so far, I haven't seen it from Nick Sirianni. And they're hoping by adding some more talent to this roster, like we've seen what they've done with the defense, and they brought James Bradbury over from the Giants, now as an Eagle, to team him up with the guy by the name of Darius Slay. Everybody knows him. Now you got literally two shutdown corners on your defense that was already decent. Pair that up with a really good defensive line and a linebacking core that kind of went underrated. They also added Hassan Redick, which is a premier pass rusher. That's his like forte now, as he's able to rush the passer. What's going to be interesting to see how they use him in this Eagles defense, which is predominantly they like to run zone and they like to attack and send blitzes at different angles. So that's going to be something to watch for. And then for the offense, they pull off a big trade with A.J. Brown from Tennessee. What do you think about we know the biggest question is about Hurts.
Right.
But this kind of ties with them, right? Is they've gone out, they got a big time player in A.J. Brown. They got a couple of young developing receivers, a good offensive line, a good tight end. They have the running backs that are capable to catch out of the backfield, also run. Now that they've done all this, it doesn't seem like they have much of a weakness on that side of the ball. this is a year that he's going to prove that he's a franchise quarterback?
Yeah, I mean that's he has to, I think, at this point. And the thing is, I'm on his side. It's like it's one of those things, and I hate to do this all the time with the rivalry teams.
Right.
I had to do this with I think Tony Romo before with the Cowboys, and I think Jalen Hurts too, because I see the athleticism. I see some of the big plays that he's made. He's made some just plays down the long. I mean, I look at that game when Doug Peterson took him out of the game to lose on purpose just so the Giants didn't make the playoffs. He was pissed, and he was actually playing well in that. He was going to win that game.
Right. Yep.
And you do something like that to him. I mean, talk about trying to develop a quarterback, but then hinder him from getting any better.
One.
I mean, yeah, he could have done it. And I was pulling for him there, and just I really like some of the tangibles that he has. And like I said, the things that he's lacking really isn't that unteachable, you know what I mean? And things that are red flags to me. Because I like it that he can take off running. I like that, some of the
he's got the mobility
that he has.
He's also super smart.
Right, and like when you said, even with the offense too, they've got enough weapons where he doesn't even have to do it all on his own. Much like
not anymore.
And Carson Wentz had to do before when he had to take off running because again, plays not the wide receivers aren't getting open because a lot of them were injured half the time too. I mean, how many times did we look at the injuries of that wide receiving core where who was he throwing to? He was throwing to Greg Ward. The Greg Ward had big days for him and stuff like that because that was like third, fourth wide receiver, in the starting lineup. So he doesn't have any of that now. So now he can rely on some of that running game too as well. And so this has got to be the full package right here. And you add the people on defense as well. That late add of Bradbury, that's one place I did not want to see him. And there he goes. He lands right there where we have to see him now twice this season.
Right.
I'm scared to death because we don't do too well in Philly anyways when we go to play them. Now we have to face him. And so I think Philly's got a good chance.
I mean, not to mention that in the draft, they also added more talent to that defense in getting Jordan Davis, the big, huge D tackle coming out of Georgia, and also his teammate in Nakobe Dean at linebacker. So that's going to be interesting to watch. Imagine Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis next to each other. On week one.
Oh, I know.
That'd be crazy.
Oh, I know.
You're not running up the middle. Just gonna say that.
Right.
But other than that, like offensively, with the Hurts and him being a quarterback, there was never a question of his arm strength. He's got a cannon for an arm. His IQ, super smart. But sometimes the accuracy was a little misguided, or maybe his decision making sometimes just wasn't in the right place. But now you got to remember too, last season his offensive line was decimated by injuries. So as the season went on, he didn't have as good as protection in front of him, or an offensive line that could open up holes for the running backs. So now they hit the reset button. They got another offseason to go through still. But if this team, just like your team, if they can stay healthy, this is a really good roster on paper. This is something that the Eagles fans should be proud of coming into this season. They have an offensive line. They've added to it with a couple of draft picks, and also with the big name A.J. Brown to add to your receiving core. What's not to love about this team coming in? This is definitely a team that could compete for this division easily.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, when it's kind of up in the air right now, they can just easily sneak up in there and get back to the playoffs, where they were just shortly, not too long ago, when they had Nick Foles take them all the way. So, again, they're a team to watch this season, especially in this division.
So let's just say this. Yes or no question. This is going to be yes or no answer now. Is Jalen Hurts franchise quarterback after this season?
After this season. I think yes. Because, again, even for now, again, what are you going to draft another one next year and then maybe try to compete next year if you don't like him? But I think he's done enough even, too, that he's shown that he can do this. That's what I don't get, I think, sometimes with him. I mean, there is a little bit of a question, but I don't know why even again, like why people are so bent on I don't know if he's the guy. And I've had my rant before about why do we need just the guy? Again, what happened to the days of just the average franchise quarterback, the guys of your Chad Penningtons, stuff like that. Chad Pennington was nobody that just blew you off the charts, off the TV screen with things that he did. But he was just a steady quarterback that, won some games and just managed the game. And, the Jets and the Miami Dolphins weren't spectacular teams, but he was your franchise quarterback for a while, did enough to keep you competitive, and that was that. I mean,
right.
and it seems like teams are just not happy with that. That's not good enough.
And what was he lacking, though, most of all? Chad Pennington had a super weak arm. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He was small in stature. He didn't have crazy mobility at all. Mm-hmm. But one thing that he was is deadly accurate, and his timing was perfect. So even though, they might call a go route for him to throw, he threw that. He would, literally get the ball, and the ball would be gone before the receiver was 10 yards down the field because he already threw it because he knew he can't get it past 30 yards. Mm-hmm. So the receiver ran, and it ended up being a good play. So it's he understood his limitations. And I guess that's the biggest thing is for some players. If you can understand and work on your weaknesses or compensate for that, you can become a good player in the NFL. It's just that you got to understand what you have to work on and you have to execute. And that's something that Chad Pennington did better than a lot of athletes. So I mean, you could criticize him all you want. He lost games. Yeah, he made some bad decisions sometimes.
Right. But I mean,
he was a solid starting quarterback.
Right.
And was an elite
even
ever.
GMs would tell you that even though too. And that's what I mean. If you look at even Jets quarterbacks in history, he is one of the most known and most liked from Jets history. Besides
right.
Joe Namath and stuff like that. But he's got to be number 2 right after that. You
Probably.
would have to say it. You would have to say it.
That or Vinny Testaverde.
Is that a problem? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. And that's what we're kind of missing out, I think, in the league the way it is now.
Because everybody wants an elite quarterback. Everybody.
Right.
Everybody's expecting an elite quarterback from the draft, from a trade, or even they pick off the free agent heap, and they're expecting a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick to come in and be the best quarterback in the league. It doesn't happen like that. It takes time to develop some young guys. It takes time to get better, and you can't expect, I know this is hard for some people to wrap their minds around, but you can't expect a draft pick to come in and in his rookie year be Peyton Manning, be John Elway, be Tom Brady. It's not going to happen like that. These quarterbacks especially need time to grow, time to develop. Unless you got a prodigy somehow, and that's a extreme rarity that never happens. You can even bring up Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was another ascending player, but guess what? His rookie year, much like Peyton Manning's, was terrible. They threw more interceptions than touchdowns.
Right.
So, pause. Take a breather.
Right.
It's going to take some time.
And for me, I think what's partially a something that leads into that train of thought could be the fact that agents on the other side, somebody just got paid big. Hey, my guy's due for one. He's your guy. I want that money now. And do you think that's maybe why teams start to think that way? When, like you saw with the Dak Prescott, yeah, he's our quarterback. Is he worth the highest paid right now? I don't think so, but he's definitely good enough to be our starting quarterback right now, and we want him here. Right. We just don't want to break the bank. And that's what I think maybe has changed the mentality of some of these teams and the way they're trying to spend. That it's kind of driven that train of thought. Well, if I'm going to pay him this much, he's got to be the real deal then. You know what I mean?
Well, it comes down to, more than anything, comes down to if you decide that this guy is your franchise quarterback. Like the Cowboys were kind of debating. Was Dak going to be our guy? Can he stay healthy? Because we got to remember he's coming back from a big-time injury at that point. How much money are we going to be able to work out? How much money can we pay him? Listen, the Cowboys did their due diligence. They tried to get the number down, which they were somewhat successful. But in the end, they still had to pay him because why? Let's just say, for example, they move on from Dak. They end up trading him. All right, and they get all these different draft picks, and they got a lot more cap space now to work with the following year. Who's your quarterback? If you don't have an answer on your roster already, you're already screwed. Because now you either got to turn to the draft and hope that you could find someone that you can develop. Not going to be good that year, but hopefully you can find someone you can develop to be that franchise quarterback. And that's like finding a needle in the haystack as it is. Or you're going to have to go to the veteran quarterback heap, sign somebody, and just kind of like as insurance, keep him there. He's your starter for now until you find that guy. So it would have been catastrophic for the Cowboys to move on from Dak, knowing that he does have talent. He is more than capable of being a starter. And that's why you see teams spend money to keep their already proven quarterbacks. Derek Carr for the Raiders. As much criticism as he gets, the Raiders knew, listen, if we move on from Derek, who the frig are we bringing in?
Right.
Unless we're getting Aaron Rodgers or someone proven, we're going to suck again.
Right.
So that's why they paid him money. They didn't pay him as much as Dak, but again, they gave him a raise. He was content with it, and it all worked out. So that's why you see teams holding on to these quarterbacks that are good enough, or maybe even above average, because what are they going to resource to?
And if you think about it, too, because we didn't bring it up with the other teams, but all of those at one point have maybe had this question. Look at the Giants. Daniel Jones, not sure. So who they bring in? Tyrod Taylor, who knows the offensive, was very successful last as a Buffalo Bill. So he's there. He could definitely push for that starting job. If Daniel Jones happens to falter, they can just slide him right in there. But he's somebody that's reliable.
I think Taylor is more he's more insurance based is the reason why they signed him.
That's what I'm kind of getting at.
They want Daniel Jones to win.
Dak Prescott, they've done the same thing with Andy Dalton. Grabbed Andy Dalton, put him in there. He's not with the team now. But when they had those talks about we're not sure with Dak Prescott, blah, blah, bring Andy Dalton in as a backup just to be safe.
Right.
Now, look at the Eagles. They go and bring in Gardner Minshew now. Minshew's behind Jalen Hurts now, too. Yeah. Why? Well, insurance policy probably, too.
Yeah, because of injury, and they're not sure what the future holds.
Right, the future holds.
So they got to have that. Actually, it's just for this season, though. So those guys that
that's because this is the question they're trying to answer.
Other than Minshew, because Minshew was still he's got a couple years, I think. Might have one more year. Might be this year when his contract expires, but. Those were all one-year deals because they just wanted insurance for that season in case Dak got hurt again. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then, but that could have also played well for Cowboys too if that was to occur, because then they could be like, well, you can't stay healthy, so you're not getting this big of money. We got to lower that standard down right now. We'll pay you $30 million a year. You know what I mean? So it can go either way.
Yeah, and that's what I think what we're seeing.
And this is something that teams have to be mindful of. And they have to be aware that in the occurrence of your franchise quarterback going down with an injury, you need to have that insurance as a backup quarterback. You need to have someone that can come in and has been there and done that to kind of keep the train going. Because if you don't, as soon as your starter goes down, like your season is over already. Not to say that it still isn't, because you lose that high talented quarterback, but at least maybe, just maybe, that backup quarterback couldn't be enough to manage the game, and maybe you still can get some wins that way.
Absolutely. So yeah, definitely. What do you guys think out there? Let us know in the comments. Joe, you want to talk about somebody that you can trust and rely on? Talk about our friends here at Johnstone Supply here. You know, it's summertime now officially, Joe.
Is it
summertime?
Is it officially now?
Even though it's been rainy the last couple of days, but next week's going to be blistering. I can't wait.
I heard like Sunday's supposed to be like 95 degrees
and it's going to be consecutive days of like 90. Boom, boom, boom.
I know we complain about the rain, but I think we might need it.
We need it, though, just because we do see the grass get burned, too, like to a crisp. So you got to keep it fresh, and I love my green lawn, too.
Listen, summer is here. It's official. Listen, we can just feel the heat right now. That's all I say. We feel the heat. It's getting hotter here, especially in upstate New York. If you want to stay cool all summer long, call our friends Johnstone Supply in Troy. Ask the team at Johnstone Supply about their high-efficiency central air conditioner systems. and ductless mini splits, they have Goodman, they got Fujitsu, and they got Westinghouse to choose from, are all in stock, by the way, at great prices. Need someone to help you install a new system? That's no problem. Our boys Johnstone Supply in Troy, they can help you with that too. Give Tom, Kev, James, or Bird, that's right, I said Bird, a call, and they can help you out. Stay cool all summer long. Call our friends Johnstone Supply in Troy, New York at 518-272-5922 or visit them at 2600 6th Avenue in Troy, New York. Also, you can connect with them online at johnstonesupply.com. Get a new air conditioner system today.
That's right. Get it today because, you don't want to try and get it in that sweltering hot day, and wait, and try and get it.
Don't wait too long. No. Because, this upcoming, at the end of the week.
Yeah, don't wait till
it's going to be hot
Saturday,
here.
Sunday. So here we go. So we're talking to NFC East's biggest questions. We are on to the Washington Commanders. Joe, again, for me, looking at this team, you got to say the question for me has got to be, will the offense put up enough points here to help the defense out? Because the defense, when they did struggle last year, it was kind of a surprise because we saw Chase Young jump out of the gate last season and the way this defense was playing with Montez Sweat and everything. And everyone's like, whoa, look at Washington. Look where they're coming from.
Defense
and fantasy owners are like, oh, man, this is amazing. And they're riding high. So everybody expected it last season, especially with going and get a veteran like Ryan Fitzpatrick to lead the offense now, somebody that was reliable and injured the first game. So there goes the offense. And then the defense had some injuries too as well. Chase Young goes out for most of the season, and they're not playing so well early on, and it's getting scored on, and people weren't used to seeing this. Eventually, they started turning it around a little bit, but again, that offense just wasn't enough, and Taylor Heinicke did what he could, and I think he really grabbed this team and made it his own. But again, turnovers here and there, costly moments, including just basically a lot of fumbles, really killed him.
Yeah, even some bad decisions made by Heinicke. And I know we all know that he's been this slow ascending type of player for Washington. But, it just goes to show they didn't have all the trust in him just yet, even though he's 29 years old.
Yeah, 29. He's the same age as Carson Wentz, right?
He's still trying to develop as a quarterback. And we looked it up. I couldn't believe it myself, but you brought up to me oh, they're the same age. I go, really? Sure enough, Carson Wentz is also 29 years old. So it begs the question also is why the hell did they trade for Wentz when they had a guy who's not only the same age but cheaper and was already – I know he was thrust into that position, but kind of handled it pretty well for the most part during the season. And the offense got better over time. Early in the season, the offense was the problem. They just couldn't put points on the board. The defense was always on the football field. They were exhausted. They couldn't stop anybody because of it. And now you go ahead and trade for a guy who's kind of very similar to Heinicke right now. Heinicke also has mobility as well as Wentz. So it's you kind of got to wonder, they made some improvements on the offensive line because guys have left. They've also made improvement in the draft, drafting another receiver in Jahan Dotson. And now you insert Carson Wentz via trade there as the quarterback who, I don't know, to both of us, we feel the same way. And it's almost the same quarterback that you've got there. So now you got two guys that play similar, styles. And made a best man win, I guess, because is this truly a quarterback, sweepstakes? It depends who's going to win, but not likely because they went out specifically and traded for Wentz
to not use him.
He's the starter unless he gets injured. I mean, could that be the curse that starts in Washington where every starting quarterback up to week one gets hurt?
It's been that way for a while if you really think about it. You know what I mean? Think about it with Alex Smith. I mean, that's kind of been that way probably for a while now. But the funny thing about Carson Wentz is just he has now been marked with that kind of
stigma.
Right, that stigma.
Yeah.
Right. That's the word I'm looking for.
Sort
of like Philip Rivers started to get even tagged with that because we remember times of Philip Rivers making the playoffs with the then San Diego Chargers with LaDainian Tomlinson, Antonio Gates, playing well. Not so much of a turnover machine here and there. Carson Wentz, even though if you look at his stats even too, he's got roughly like 27, 25 touchdowns on average with like 7 to 8 picks. Really isn't really bad.
Pretty good, actually.
But 15 fumbles. 10 fumbles,
Turning it over,
8 fumbles here and there too. And then it's kind of like when you're watching the games, it's kind of when it turns for you. You see when it happens in the wrong times. Like if you say he hasn't turned the ball over, but all of a sudden, like that playoff game, like 3 times fumbled, smashed, crushed. Like, dude, what are you doing? Like dumb bonehead plays that were crucial moments in a crucial game that you needed, and he wasn't there for you. And that's what has kind of brought that stigma upon him, and that's why everybody paints him as a loser. And when you're there, bring that guy in to compete with Heinicke, who, again, people kind of see him as this guy that's still developing, even though he's 29, but kind of that guy that wasn't one of the biggest, highest drafted players. Nobody, wasn't anybody supposed to be anybody special, but that good feel-good story. You know what I mean? That comes in, works hard, just loves to play, can do whatever he do to help the team, and knows the offense already too. It just certain turnovers here and there. But that's your guy.
You're gonna appreciate this. So I heard Carson Wentz speak today, and say that I'm just gonna come into Washington, and I'm here to help this team out, put points on the board, and I'm not gonna force anything. This is what he said.
It happens,
I'm not going to force anything. I'm just going to be here and be the consummate starter for them and help the offense out. That's all well and good, Carson. But there's 2 things that kind of fight Wentz every time he steps on the football field. One is injuries, because he doesn't know enough to get out of harm's way or slide before he gets hit or something of that nature. The another thing is fumbling the football, like you just alluded to. So if he can correct those 2 things, it'll make him a better quarterback.
Right.
But, and the thing is, just like you've kind of said this on the show multiple times about him trying to do too much.
Right, exactly.
When even though he has help around him, he tries to do too much in certain situations. So you got to wonder with Ron Rivera, who's kind of like a, no-nonsense type of coach, if this is what he kind of needs, is that type of coach. Light a fire underneath him and say, listen, you're not doing anything. Don't stop doing everything. You don't have to. We have Terry McLaurin. We have a rookie that you can throw to in Jahan Dotson. We have weapons. Stop trying to do everything.
Right.
Get the ball in their hands. Let them do the rest. And then we also have a running back in Antonio Gibson that we can run the ball, take some pressure off you. So if he can wrap his mind around that this year, I know it's been a long career for him,
right?
Of getting beat up and bullied in a sense. Maybe he can turn the corner with Washington. Not like to his kind of big run in with Philly where he kind of helped them, got them to the playoffs type of deal, and then Foles took over.
Yeah.
But maybe he can get better just by not trying to do more than he has to. And if he does that...
Take what they give you.
Right. If he does that, Washington will, in fact, put up more points.
Right.
And this is definitely all predicated on Wentz. He just has to stop trying to do too much, utilize what's around you, and that's going to help this team overall, because if the offense is better, the defense is going to be better. We saw that at the end of last year when we were all guessing, like, what the fuck is wrong with this defense? Why are they struggling? Why are they getting like 27 plus points every week put on them? This is a defense that on paper, we're like, nobody can score on this team. They're going to be amazing. And they let us down a little bit, but it wasn't them. The offense struggled early on. When Taylor Heinicke got better as the season went on, you started to notice that defense get a lot better. So if they can come out of the gate with Wentz and put some points on the board, this team is another one of those teams, even though it got kind of written off last year, they could kind of turn the corner a little bit, not dramatically, but they could turn the corner a little bit and become a more competitive team this season.
And the problem with when you look at Taylor Heinicke, it's what you reminded with those type of guys is those games, because you've seen the ones where he did pull out some good wins, and then they interview him. But then you've had those games where it just was not looking good for him, and then everybody's reminded, oh, yeah, well, that's why you weren't, thought of really high and you were undrafted or whatever. Yeah. That's why. And now, so you're brought back to earth, so then that's why everybody's constantly like, well, yeah, you're not really our starter then. You're just here. But a few different questions with that, though, too. I mean, because Terry McLaurin's still not showing up, too. I mean, how long is that going to go on? Is he going to decide to hold out, or will he show up?
No, he's going to practice. He's going to come. So. He's coming to mandatory practices while the discussions are going on. It's not to that level. He's not holding out for any period of time or anything like that. He knows that a deal is going to be agreed upon. It's just about when. So Terry's going to go on with his business like the true professional he is. And he's going to play, and he's going to let his agent handle everything. When they do agree upon a contract, he'll go up to the front office and they'll sign that deal. And he's going to play regardless. Because what's the worst case thing that can happen? He's a free agent at the end of the year.
Yeah.
They franchise tag him. Worst case, you get franchise tagged, and he's going to make a hell of a lot more money in 1 year. So either way, I think he's comfortable. He wants to stay in Washington, so it's just going to play out.
And one thing that was a funny storyline about last season too is J.D. McKissick. You got to see actually play too and do well,
a big part,
and be a big part of that, because forever we've kind of made jokes about him being Madden's secret player, that they loved him so much. They always rated him so high, and he was never a starter anywhere, and like he never stayed healthy long enough either too. Right. So it's like, dude, what does Madden see in this guy? They love this guy, and you never saw it until last season. And that's what we were always joking around, like, oh, this is what they might have seen.
And not to mention like a real receiving threat. Like a guy that comes on the football field, and you got to be aware where he is, because he could catch a ball 5 yards down the field and turn that into 50 yards down the field. So
absolutely
has definitely found his niche finally, I guess you could say, with Washington.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So there you go. That's our NFC East biggest questions here, Joe.
Yes, sir.
One more thing I just want to bring up before we roll up out of here.
I got something else, too.
Sure, what do you got? Well, go ahead. Let's roll with yours first.
I just want to say, this has been a long time through this episode that we just haven't even addressed it. But better late than never. Listen, if you're new to the show and you want to hook up with us and become a know-it-all, part of this big-time football community that we're growing here, head over to YouTube and search us up, Football on the No Show. Hit that subscribe button to really help our channel grow, help us get noticed more, and also hit that notification bell to let you guys know when we go live. Also, we are on Facebook. You head over there, same deal. Search us up, become a member, become a know-it-all. Really appreciate all the sponsors that are with us, and we really appreciate all you know-it-alls out there. I know we don't say it enough, but thank you guys. Listen, this is the reason why we do this show. We claim to be, and we are, the most interactive football talk show out there. So if you enjoy interacting with us, listen, comment down below. Light the comment section up next week for us so we can have some debates, have some, good conversations, even drop some questions in there. As long as they're football related, we're going to answer them. You know what I mean? Whether it be fantasy football, about your team, about a player, what have you. But we are here for everybody.
Get down on your knees and tell me you love me.
About that. All right, so I wanted to bring up even the fact with the quarterbacks here quick. Lamar Jackson, again, looking for a new deal, and Kyler Murray. All right, let's put the two together here. Both are mobile quarterbacks. Yep. Again, but if you put them side by side, one has theirs last year here before he's eligible, trying to get a deal. Another's got another 2 years here. Lamar Jackson, big face of the franchise, kind of one of the bigger names in the NFL right now. They're pushing besides Patrick Mahomes. Now Kyler Murray, able to take that team last year. They started off red hot. We're like, wow, look at this. And we kind of saw them doing it, starting this past year, but then moving in further, and they kind of jumped the gun on us a little bit. They went a little quicker than we might have thought, much like the Bengals kind of did. But again, both guys seeking out contracts. You've got the Deshaun Watson deal, who just hit $230 million, I think, for his deal. Who do you think gets the deal first, if anything? And what do you think it's going to be the number here? What's the number here for these guys?
I think it goes to whoever has the better agent.
Right.
I mean,
well,
real simple.
Lamar Jackson's agent is himself and his mom.
Well, then not Lamar Jackson.
So,
because here's the thing. Here's the deal: is if you're a quarterback, everybody, when you look at that quarterback position, you have to be able to do one thing really, really well: throw the football to the receivers, get rid of the ball. Lamar Jackson has gotten better with his time in the league, but he's still not considered one of the better passing quarterbacks in the league. He's considered one of the best, if not the best, mobile quarterback in the league because he's so elusive. He's hard to tackle in open space, and that's where it leads to him having these big, runs and everything like that and scoring chances. Then you have Kyler Murray, who is extremely mobile, can get out of harm's way, but he's more of that quarterback who can make all the throws, is accurate, and he's an ascending young quarterback, that's coming up through the ranks. He led his team last year to 12 wins. He failed miserably towards the very end of the season, whether it be bad decisions or just miscues on his throws or what have you. But if you're going to sign a quarterback, you want him to be able to do everything. And that's why it kind of leads me to say I'm leaning towards signing Kyler Murray before I would ever sign Lamar Jackson. Not to say Lamar Jackson isn't good or electrifying or what have you, but what I see in Kyler Murray, I see a quarterback that can make all the throws, is accurate. I know his stature is really tiny, but he also can get out of harm's way. He's not as elusive as Lamar Jackson in the open field, but he's extremely fast. So he can also run. He can make all the throws. And Lamar Jackson, I see him more of as just a runner. And Lamar, I know, jokes about media saying, oh, well, I'm not just a running back. Look, I just ran for, you know what I mean? He mocks it, But in a sense, like if you're really looking at his game, what does he do better than anything else? Run the ball. And
his open field vision is amazing.
Right. And it does make him more dangerous. However, when those games come down to where Baltimore's behind by 2 or 3 touchdowns, they don't come back and win those games because they are a running team. They're a run option, I guess you would call it, team.
Right.
First, before passing. So that's where, like, whenever this kind of whenever this topic comes up for a guy like Lamar Jackson versus Kyler Murray, I'm always going to pick the guy that can throw the ball better, or makes a bigger difference throwing the ball than running, because that's why you got drafted. That's why that's what you need in the playoffs. And I understand Baltimore's made it to the Super Bowl with Lamar and is pushed deep into the playoffs and what have you, but what gets you wins more than anything? Not a running quarterback. A guy that can do everything. The guy that can distribute the ball. So for me, it's Kyler Murray because of that reasoning.
Right, and I kind of understand what you're coming through here because we've seen it already with, I'd say, the 49ers Ravens Super Bowl.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Look at that.
Right.
Joe Flacco, your pocket quarterback.
Yep.
And it came down to him and whatchamacallit? I can't even think of his name even right now, but Colin Kaepernick.
Colin
Kaepernick. What did he do? He had some wheels too. He could run. He was, he's one of the reasons I mad him and put the read option and the pistol offense in the game the next year after.
Yeah.
But he had a strong arm too, like a baseball type of pitcher too as well, but didn't have the touch. And when they needed it, that's where they missed the throw into the end zone too, where he didn't get it dialed in, and that's what you needed at that particular time. Something that Joe Flacco was at that time, and then it's all history after that. And you see what happens.
Right.
Something that the Patriots do consistently. they never put the pedal off the metal. They could always just score on you just like that and drop it down and keep going.
They were still aggressive.
Not even just even deep passes. It wasn't like he could throw a bomb,
they just drive right down the
field.
field.
Apart and drive you down that way, not just try and run it down and drive that way. So I hear what you're saying there too.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting concept because if you flip the script and you think about like tight ends that say, well, I'm more of a wide receiver, so I should get paid like a wide receiver. Well, Lamar Jackson's more like a running back. Should he get paid like a running back instead, which is laughable. But I think really, you can't because, again, he's playing a quarterback position. It's more than just throwing the ball. It's about commanding the offense, running it the way it's supposed to be run, which I think he does well.
And he does a phenomenal job with that offense.
Yeah, and I think he's done better at passing. But again, who's more valuable? I think both are valuable to each franchise.
For sure.
And I think he's going to be tested a little more this season, Lamar Jackson, than
you talk about
Kyler Murray.
Talk about being tested. Look at last year. How down the stretch he was throwing multiple interceptions, and that's what kind of lost a few games for them. So for a guy that was trying to prove I can throw the ball just like anybody else, it actually hurt him more than anything. So do I think – I'm not trying to say that Lamar Jackson's no good.
Right,
That's not what I'm saying. Right. I want to make that perfectly clear. Would I love Lamar Jackson on my team? Absolutely. Would I love Kyler Murray on my team? Absolutely. But they bring different game styles. So unless you're able to – like what the Ravens did, they created an offense around him that makes him successful. So, but if I had my choice – I'm going with the guy that throws the ball better, that gets the ball to his big weapons.
Now, the funny thing is, too, now, again, will it go out to holding out? Will they hold out? I think when you look at the team and if they value their guy, I think Lamar Jackson is more valuable to the Baltimore Ravens than Kyler Murray will be to the Cardinals. Because I already know how Cliff Kingsbury uses offense, but also behind Kyler Murray, you've got Colt McCoy, and even Trace McSorley has done well when he was with Baltimore before as well. But also, I understand, though, too, the backup for the Baltimore Ravens, too, had run it just like that offense, too, as well, behind Lamar Jackson before, too. So similarities, too. So will it be, maybe as valuable? But you know what I'm saying? That's how I think teams kind of gauge it, too, as well.
Here's what I would say, too. Is if you want to say, I would say he's more impactful than the other guy. Like Kyler Murray is not as impactful as Lamar Jackson. I would kind of tend to disagree, and only because whenever, like we just talked about franchise quarterbacks, as soon as you have a franchise quarterback and you're convinced that's our guy, you don't let him go. There's nobody that's more important, you know what I mean, to any team. So look for Baltimore. Lamar's their guy. He's not going anywhere. They're going to agree on a deal. It's just bound to happen. And then same thing with Arizona. They're going to agree to a deal. They're going to keep Kyler Murray because if you unseat either one, and even with the little bit of success that the backup for Baltimore has had and Colt McCoy has had with Arizona, when they had to play, they're not those type of guys. They're not Lamar Jackson. They're not Kyler Murray. So when it comes to franchise quarterbacks, they're both going to be where they are currently. I would be absolutely shocked if either one of them moved on or got traded or what have you. But I really think that when it comes to contracts, both of them are deserving because they both deserve raises for what they've been able to do. It's just going to be one of those things, like when you look at terms of contracts, like you said, Kyler Murray, 2 years, Lamar Jackson, 1 year. So basically this season and he's done. That's where the more urgency is Baltimore. They want to get that shit done because if by chance the year goes by, they couldn't agree to a deal. Now they're talking in the offseason, but things are still a little shaky, still a little off. Now what do? Now they got to franchise them, which is going to cost the team more money. It's going to be crazy. And then, you don't, at that position, you definitely don't want to have to tag them another year. Then it's just insane. So both teams, I see them both getting the deals done relatively soon. Maybe not this season except for Lamar. Lamar's more urgent. They got to get that done.
Right.
So you could even expect maybe a deal for Lamar to get done before week 1 because it's more urgent. They want to get it done before the season even starts.
Right.
So there's no, they don't have to hear it from the media. They don't have to hear about the rumors and all that. So I feel like they're going to get one done. Hopefully it's done before week 1 even starts. And then for the Arizona Cardinals, they got a little bit more leeway. They got a season, or 2 if they wanted to push it. But
do you even say, hey, Kyler, what if we give you a 2-year extension even on what you got for this much? Sign this, and we'll be in talks and then work on a more long-term solution after that.
That's going to come down to money, the same thing. So he would have to have a massive raise. And right now that seems to be the sticking points for both teams is they got to agree to a number. Now, we all seen this, cat and mouse game where, well, he got paid this much, so I want to get paid just a little bit more than him. And that happens with every position. But now it's going to come to both these teams being creative with how they structure their contracts to make it seem like they're being the highest paid, but they're kind of even or just below or something. The average per year, because you can play with the contracts, add a little bit more of a signing bonus, then start to do like roster bonuses and workout bonuses. You can break it up to where it's not such a big cap hit, like some of these other teams, like Aaron Rodgers' contract is out of this world. It's crazy. I just hope that the teams are smart about it when they do get these deals confirmed.
Right, and then finally now for, like I said, Deshaun Watson's kind of now set the new balance here. Where do you see them possibly roughly going with these contracts? Do you think they get what would you pay for Lamar? What would you think acceptable for Kyler Murray right now? I know they're probably looking for 240, 250.
I mean, to be honest with you, it wouldn't be Watson contract at all. However, I'll say this. So Kyler Murray's younger, right? He's got projected to have a longer career right now than Lamar. Plus, you got to think about, too, Lamar is in more danger of injury or something with his running ability. So with that being said, like I would give Kyler Murray a tendency to maybe give him a $35 to $38 million per year on average contract. And for Lamar, I would say 35. And I know some people might squawk at that and be like, you can't pay him less than... Listen, there's an injury factor there. And this is where the negotiating table is going to... It's going to be a long type of negotiation for both these quarterbacks because they're going to... Lamar's camp is going to make their argument why we should get paid 40, 45, something like that. You know what I mean? But then the teams... And this is where you sit at the table and you're going to kind of negotiate back and forth. There's going to be arguments. There's going to be discrepancies. We think that Lamar is better than or just as good or just as important as Aaron Rodgers. And they're going to try to make that case and why we should be paid more like Aaron.
Right.
So this happens all the time with negotiations for any position. And it's going to be about finding that happy medium for the team and the player. And I feel like because of these big name stars that they are,
right,
that it's going to take some time to get this negotiation agreed upon and finalize, that contract to get it all settled. But as much as like this is what I would pay Lamar, to be honest, I could definitely see him getting upwards to $40 million a year on average, because that's kind of seen as that average
trend,
point.
And again, everybody kind of looks at it as like this is the ongoing rate. This is the bar. You got to be near there.
And there's also a little bit of a waiting period between both of them, because let's just say, for example, Kyler Murray is closer to a contract deal.
Right.
Kyler Murray might want his agent and let's drag this back a little bit. Let's not get so crazy. We got 2 years. We can wait a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's see what Lamar gets. And if Lamar gets, let's just say $39 million on average per year. Oh, and what's our contract that we negotiate? Oh, it's 42. Okay, we're good. Now we'll sign it. You know what I mean? Or let's renegotiate because Lamar got 39. My client, Kyler Murray, is better than Lamar, so I want $45 million a year. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it might open up some more issues.
Yeah. I mean, again, we got it's coming. Summer's here, like we talked about with Johnstone Supply and everything else in the camps. We're feeling it. So pretty soon,
buddy.
the time's flying. We're gonna get right into it.
Tickets are gonna be going. Tickets are for sale for all these different games throughout the NFL. Listen, if you're also going to concerts, whatever venue you want, SeatGeek.com. Head there right now. Enter promo code GOZ, G-O-Z, for not just 20% off, but $20 off.
$20 off.
Any $50 or more purchase. So SeatGeek.com, that's where you got to go get your tickets for anything, any venue.
Absolutely. So, again, a lot of the different storylines coming out. We'll follow that just like others. Next week, we're going to do our NFC West now. Another interesting division.
Talk about the Cardinals.
Talk about the Cardinals again, probably. Who knows? But it's going to be a lot of fun. Biggest questions there. Thanks so much for everybody for joining us with this episode.
Yes.
Again, make sure you like the video, comment, drop some comments in there. Go to our YouTube page, hit the subscribe button, notification bell, let you know whenever we go live. And then also Facebook, too. If you guys are out there on Facebook, share it with your friends. A lot easier to share stuff on Facebook, too, as well. We know it. You know what I mean? Like it to your page and all this other junk. And we have a Facebook group, too, Football on the No Show. So if you haven't yet, become a know-it-all. Join our group and invite some more friends. That's the thing, too. Don't just join, too. Be like, all right, I'm here. If you enjoy it, share it with your friends, too, as well. That's what it's all about, sharing and caring, everybody.
#KnowItAll.
Boom. There you go. So thanks so much again for joining us, and we will see you guys next time.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday night for more Football on the No with Jim and Joe.